Thanks for staying with us. Now, confraternities in Nigeria are secret societies like student groups within higher education that have been involved in illegal and violent activities. The exact death toll of confraternities are unclear, but one estimate in 2002 was that 250 people had been killed in campus cult-related murders in the previous decade, while the Exam Ethics Project's lobby group estimated that 115 students and teachers have been killed between 1993 and 2019. And during the first weeks of school year, confraternity alumni and members swarmed campuses recruiting new members. Initiating ceremonies normally involve severe beating in order to test their endurance, as well as ingesting of liquid mixed with blood. Male initiates may sometimes be required to pass unalterable additional hurdle before becoming full members. Of final year students of the Department of Political Science in Osun State University, Victor Oke, was allegedly shot, caught with machetes and set ablaze by suspected cultists for refusing to join a fraternity. This manner of violence against our boys and men reminds us of the recent brutal murder of Sylvester, the 12-year-old boy student that died at Doen College, who was beat up by a group of senior students and forced to ingest an unknown liquid substance, which eventually took his life. Now, it's hard to trace the root cause and the purpose of bullying and cultism. Some claim it is for protection, some say it's quest for power, or just a reason to be feared and respected. I mean, that's the conversation. So if you have been affected or you've suffered from cultist activities, or you know someone who has, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so I was just going to add that there is a video going round on YouTube. If you haven't seen the expose by BBC on cultism, right? I think you should go and watch that video. That video was really disturbing, and there was Uti. I think Uti shared it to the group. I watched the 57 full minutes of that video, and trust me, the allegations were really strong, and I tend to want to believe some of those allegations, because in that video there were accusations of political leaders, our politicians, funding these cult groups because they always, keep them aside and use them during their political campaigns and elections and all of that. So when I saw that video, I said, okay, there's some semblance of, you can actually correlate why it still does exist, and with the boldness to which it does. I mean, there was the 1 million boys. You come out in the street. Cultism used to be something that,
hush, hush.
Yeah, but now there's so much boldness. I mean, when Omola was writing this, she talked about schools. Now, it's not just in universities. In your neighborhood, different streets, there's always clashes at Badore, because they said they called boys between them and the ones at Abramade Sonya. They're always fighting. So different communities, cultism is everywhere, is amongst us, is within us, is everywhere in different levels. And I mean, if you had watched that video, the guy talked about cultists being in different cadre. So they're in the military, they're in government, they're in top, yes, they're in police, they're in government, they're in top organizations. So how do we even solve this problem of cultism? And what is really the big impact of cultism in our society? Maybe I'll come to you, Uti.
You want to start from me?
Yes, so.
Interesting. The first memory I have of this whole conversation around cults with university, my brother went to LASU. And it was some of the singularly most traumatizing experiences of my life. I didn't experience it, I was just hearing the stories. And I knew that kill me dead, I will never go to university in Nigeria. Really? He spent 7 years in LASU and almost lost his life a couple of times. And, when you hear these things, in my mind I wonder how something that was set up to be almost elitist, to be peaceful, to be
brotherhood,
a thing of pride,
so I try to juxtapose it against maybe like the Greek system in America. You hear the Phi Beta Kappa, you hear all these things, and it's almost generational. You go to university, I mean, like, I'm like, why in Nigeria is everything
perverse?
where, you know, it's like extra.
Perverse the system.
And you start to see, it's just like, you know, when we were talking about the politicians, you start to see the long arm of different things impacting us in Nigeria. So why are people in cults? When you talk about people who need protection, you talk about people who are 23 million people unemployed, largely youthful population with nothing to do, idle hands, devil's workshop. I mean, there's so many reasons why we're where we are today. But the scarier thing for me is it's not slowing down. We sort of started the conversation talking about it from a school perspective, but it's so much bigger than that now. It's a full-on criminal organization. You keep hearing the clashes. When we're here in Lagos, you hear in Ajah, Baduri, Ado Road, you know, in Benin. It's scary. And for a country where we don't value life, you know, chicken is worth more than life in this country. If your chicken goes missing, the owner will look for it more than somebody will look for, you know. So when we are at the point that we're at, you know, something that's now growing exponentially, at what point? You know, where are we going to get to? Where's the zenith? Where's the peak? It's a very scary thought for me.
It's very scary to think about.
There's no peak. Let me start from there. Because humans would always give birth to humans, and until the world ends, these things would always continue. You hear about cartels where the mafia is concerned. You hear about the cabal where the government is concerned. I was in uni in the 90s, and I remember there was a time they had to shut down Unilag because the activities were getting too out of hand. What had happened was somebody did something. It always starts, not always, but the frivolous reasons why they fight is so, I mean,
Very flimsy.
very flimsy. I'm toasting a girl. She says no.
Women,
And then
pretty much.
I'm toasting a girl. She says no. You get upset. You call your boys to the point where they actually had to machete a guy, and they had to carry him with his mattress out of Unilag. Anybody that went there can verify the story, with pieces of body detached in Unilag. And then you got to the point where it was almost as if there was a war going on within the university. Cars couldn't come in. My brother had to come get me, and we had to walk out the gates. It's been going on for now 30 years, I'm talking about. And because they have godfathers, because they're being used for election processes, it will never stop. Because they have protection. And I don't think we've ever heard, I haven't heard of any major court cases involving cultists who were charged to court for
And
criminal.
tried.
And sent to
It's
jail.
never going to stop. No consequences.
I believe that grouping is part of human evolution. We thrive in groups. And beyond the cult, we initiate clubs at school levels. You know, when I saw the young boy that was killed, I had a different thought pattern around the way people were shredding the school, shredding the parents. The school institutionalized clubs. You know, the unfortunate thing is they get perversed, pretty much. This is the down and the negative effect of groups. Churches have groups, women have groups. We all thrive as social animals. We want to interact, we want to behave in a particular way and want validation. This is what creates this group in the first place. And for me, cultism, we can look at it and just try and judge the process. The question is, why did it start? Why was it started? What was the purpose for establishment? Along the line, something goes wrong. And beyond the fact that whether it's a vehicle for politicking and all of those things, there are still reasons why some of these institutions were set up. They have been perverse without a doubt. And all of the time, what we see is, do people really evolve out of these groups, out of this network? Some people really genuinely want to join cults. I remember when we were in uni, we're talking about female groups. There are male cults. There are female cults.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time I wore a leg chain and some babes just walk up to me and were trying to check me up and give a code, and I dropped back because, of course, I didn't understand what she was saying. And she goes, "You don't do that if you're not one of us." I'm like, "What are you? What of you? Do you want us to blend you?" And this was broad daylight right in the front of my hostel where we're just having a conversation. And over time, then some of them came to tell me that they're telling you that if you're not part of the black bra, this was the female code, you cannot dress some kind of way, you cannot wear. It's like their signature piece, and this is how they identify one another. And you'd realize that a lot of people dealing with a lot of self-issues join groups to be able to, beyond self-esteem, identity crisis. They want to be able to find a voice. They want to be able to leverage other people because there's a power of network, without a doubt. And that's why a lot of these groups are created, and that's why cult exists in the first place. But then, when it starts to go bad is where we do not understand. And then they begin to use it for all sorts of malice, different benefit, and it goes really, really horrible. For me, cultism is not something that is limited to just like we said, it's not just in universities. It's amongst we women even as cults. A time comes when women create a group and they do all sort of things with the group, and then you start to wonder, why was it set up in the first place? Cultism has its negative effect. Unfortunately, that young boy died because of that pressure. But then, this is the reality of our time. We all depend on one another. This is a form of a group. We can perverse this same group as women, you know, and that's how you start, really.
It's all for a sense of belonging. That's
what really drives. That's what really drives cults.
Sorry, if you know the Mojude Festival in Ogun State, everybody has an age group that they belong to. It could easily be seen the same way with every club that you mentioned in school, literary and debating society, the sports group, the social group, the everything. It's all for a sense of belonging.
Yes, we won't try.
And then, like you said, they start perversing it. But from that club thingy, sisters and big brothers and big sisters groups and things like that would never stop. Cultism also would never stop. The only way, I don't even think there's a way.
So how do we now reduce? Because the level of violence happening now, again, I mean, when I watched that video, the expose around even online fraud, they were recruiting some of these children from secondary schools. There's a high level of online fraud going on. Networks that they even arrested some people in South Africa, you know. So it's not just now just saying that sense of belonging. It has become a real criminal syndicated structure that has to be broken down. And if
How
the
do you
people,
break it down?
that's my point now. If the people that are supposedly supposed to be the custodians of peace and, you know, security and everything are the ones even funding these people. So where is the hope in us even having some level of, you know, headway?
Should I give you something to compare to? If we haven't been able, this may seem off Kaya, if we haven't been able to sort out the electricity issue in Nigeria, cultism cannot be sorted. Why do I say that? People say the reason why there's never been a solution is people make money of buying and selling diesel, generators, etc. So it will never be solved, right? By the same token, there are benefits for the people that belong to these cults. When you leave secondary school and you're guaranteed a job because a godfather or someone that was a senior in a club already knows that you exist. I was given honorary membership to a boys club in Unilag, Row Club. It was a social club. It was all about parties. But they made me an honorary female member. Based on that, I've gotten favors from people who were founders of Row Club. Do you understand? It's not a cult, it's a social gathering, it's a social club. But by belonging and giving that recognition, I have access to certain things. For that same reason, we would never see cultism stop.
The cultism in itself, to me, is not a problem. It's the act of perpetrating evil while they are cult members.
No, so the very definition of itself of cult is negative.
What is the definition of cultism?
So if you are talking about it from that, from that
definition is not flawed. It's the perception
No. Cultism is negative. Don't do group and club and cult. It's separate. Hold on. It's separate. Cultism is negative. However you want to speak it was called confraternity to start with. That's a completely different thing. So it's already a negative thing. When you talk about cults, you're talking about something that is a negative vibe. You're talking about like gangs. I agree it's not going to stop because we don't live in a utopian society. First of all, you have a pipeline that is feeding into it. Now there are various things within that drive that pipeline that you can sort of attack, right? Because now you're coming down to the Doen colleges, you're coming down to the younger, more impressionable. There are things you can do at that point, from educating the children, even bullying has not stopped. How do you want to stop everything else? Because the fact is, even at that level, there is peer pressure. Even at that level, there's no place where you have a bigger identity crisis than when you're in secondary school. You're just finding yourself as puberty, as coming into being an adult. So you can't even say that at that point you want to stop it. But what are the things that we can put in place to start to maybe address it? You're raising sons.
Just add very quickly.
You know what? Let's go and drink water. We are coming. Stay
I'm
with
not thirsty.
Now, if you just tuned in, is our ladies' night out, and our focus today is cultism and the impact in our society. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. Our phone line is also now open. Please turn off the volume of your television set when you're calling. Turn it off so we can hear ourselves. The number to call is 070-2500-7749. Again, 070-2500-7749. Cultism, devotion to the doctrine or a cult or to the practices of a cult. So commitment to some purpose, the devotion of his time and wealth to science, the zeal, willingness. There's nothing negative.
That's my point exactly.
That's so ambiguous.
So
No,
when
it's
you
not.
read you read the definition,
there's another
to the
definition.
bottom,
Yeah.
you will find that
Find the simple.
I don't think so. I don't
So-
think that the way Illuminati is being perversed, a lot of groups and networks have been attached to a lot of negativity. Just the way people see people that belong to a particular sect. It's just the way. It's unfortunate that we consider religion or Christianity the positive because of what we proclaim. Trust me, clubs and cultism group were
Okay,
set
so I have
up
more definition, but let me take Peter's call.
positive.
Yeah, let me take
reason.
Peter's call first.
It's the perversion of it that changes the entire narrative.
Definition. Okay, Peter, let me hear. Thank you for calling. Let's hear what you have to say.
Hello.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for calling.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. My name is Peter.
Thank you so much for calling.
What I want to say pertaining the issue is cultism is divided into two parts.
Okay.
We have for the rich and for the poor. The rich tend to come together to celebrate themselves and have a purpose for what they are doing. But the poor tend to fight each other, most especially the poor ones in school, trying to get something they want from their fellow students. Somebody like me, I schooled in Imo State University, and I was so bullied that if I'm resuming school, I have to buy beer for my fellow colleague so that I will be free from any trouble or want.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so
So
much.
I believe cultism cannot be stopped in Nigeria today, because even the military, it has its own strong men and people. If you look for someone's trouble in the military, if you travel, maybe you leave Gombe and you go to Kaduna, they will send their fellow colleague there to beat you up, even if you are right. So cultism is a thing that has come to stay. And the solution to this is for you people, the media, to stop showing things relating to cultism, most especially the Nigerian films that we watch. So please, cultism will not be stopped if things are looked into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Stopping that's showing it on TV could never stop, because we have gangs, like you said. We have gangs. We have, no one has ever accused the Rotary Club, Lions Club, Lioness Club of cultism. So there's a difference. We know what clubs are, we know what cults are. And I think the succinct way to put it, at least for me, that I learned as a child, is based on that George Orwell book, Animal Farm. Some animals are more equal than others. We would never have them be the same. And as long as oppression exists, there'll be a reason for the gathering of brotherhoods and belonging in a group, so that you can rise up in the cave.
Yeah, because a few of those boys in that video had said that the reason they even went out to look
join
for
the
the club to
clubs,
join
yes,
was because
because they
some
experienced
he had experienced that level of oppression. One said he walked in, he was in secondary school, he walked into the pool of blood of his father. And he knew, the sad thing according to him is that he knew the people that did it, but he didn't have the power to confront or whatever. So you see,
The lack of justice that we do not even have in our society, right? It also would just
Enables
enable this cultism, because if I know that I go to the police
and they will solve and bring that person to book, I will not go and join a cult. I will go to the police. Exactly. But you see, when even in the police they have members. You have members in the military. You have members. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So how do we even find the solution? But let me take Boyega, then I'll come back to you, Milora. Sorry, Boyega, are you there? Thank you for calling. Boyega, are you there? Thank you for calling. You're live.
Good evening.
Thank you for calling. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make a small contribution, towards what you were saying. You see, cultism, it's a crime. I mean, in America, for example, I went to school in America in the 70s. You had fraternities, Phi Beta Kappa, and these were not violent fraternities. I mean, they were based on students' performance academically. Okay, now in Nigeria, we have so many cults, black arts, whatever, and all that stuff. They are criminal cults because they are perpetuating crime on the people. So it's the police that will have to deal with that, and the law enforcement and the intelligence community in Nigeria to be able to dislodge these cults. But they haven't done their jobs properly. That's why the cults themselves have grown. And you heard what we heard in the news yesterday, and even some very top politicians, are members of the court from time immemorial. So I think another thing is the values, home values. Most of the children that we have in schools today, imagine in secondary schools, in primary schools, most of Nigerian parents are busy looking for bread to feed the family and everything, and they don't pay much attention to their children. So the children have developed a mind of their own, and the way Nigeria is today, everything about Nigeria is violence, crime, 419, and this is the truth. I'm a Nigerian too, but these things can be corrected over time if government can also be involved in programs that will make sure that they deal with these the crimes and faults and all that, especially in schools. Schools are for learning, for education. Schools are not places that you don't want to send your child and you are afraid. So the government has to do a lot. Intelligence community, police, law enforcement, and all that.
All right,
they
thank you very much.
Otherwise, it's going to go out of hand.
Thank you so
much. That was really spot on, and you just touched on some of what I wanted to discuss, which is it all goes down to the struggles of a developing country and the level of lack of development in Nigeria particularly.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, it cuts across, and all of these issues are connected to one another. In a country where we have a lot of failure on the part of the government and lack of development in a lot of areas, you'll find people trying to survive the crude way, and then jungle justice becomes the order of the day. This is why people rely, when there's a failed system, they have to create their own solution and create their own government. And that is why this cults and this negativity of cult members is become more severe. And just like we all mentioned, they are being sponsored, they are being supported, and a lot of people they have godfathers that supports and makes these groups.
Let me take Ayo, then I'll come to Uti. I've not heard you in a minute. Ayo, are you there? Thank you for calling. I said turn off the volume. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you live.
You see, the only way cultism can be eradicated in Nigeria.
Okay, I would have to cut you off, please, because that's why we say turn off the volume of your television set, because if you're hearing, there's a feedback. Uti, let me come to you. What's that what's that word now? Quote that we've had a couple of times on the show? If impunity lasts beyond 24 hours, the government is involved. As you were both speaking, that's what I was just thinking. Why are they joining? They're joining for protection, they're joining for identity, they're joining for various reasons. I like the guy in Benin in the video who said he joined because assassins wanted to kill him and he couldn't afford the police. So he joined and then he rose through the ranks to the point where he became the number one enforcer. He became a tax collector. Yeah. He boldly said it in the video. The governor was in power. The former governor, house. Yes. And then, my hotel was demolished. It's in the video. He mentioned it. So the reality of it for him is there was no solution A that should be in place. And then I went to
created
solution B. And then when I went to solution B, I was rewarded for it. It's a pipeline that will continue to feed itself because he has become a role model. He says, if I make a phone call now,
everywhere will be swarmed with people.
Things will happen.
I'm a young boy. I'm in that same situation. I don't have protection. I see my peers probably following this guy. They're all doing well. I'm scrounging to eat. They're lounging. What's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen if
Let me take Okoye from Lagos. Today the calls, the lines are buzzing. Hi, thank you for calling. Hi, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to contribute to this.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, what I know is this. Cultism is something that has come to stay.
Wow.
But we should try as much as possible to turn it around. Yeah, where you have all these different cults compete in a positive way on campuses. The way parent confraternity go out to motherless babies' home and contribute to the society. I want to see in a station where the Buccaneers, the Ayer, the Ayed can either equip their libraries or contribute to the library office.
You didn't even have a library. Thank you, Okoye. I understand what you're saying, but you see, if you watch, this particular expose was done for Black Axe. If you watch it, there's nothing like library. There's axes and what's it called?
No, but you know the funny thing about it is that when you even look at it, it's a broader problem.
Yes.
So, when we were talking about this thing, it was, there's schools, there's universities. This guy went into Makoko. These people have never gone to school.
They're in the streets.
And they're in Black Acts.
Yes.
They're saying we're fighting against oppression. We're fighting for freedom. We don't kill innocent people. By whose definition? If you are hacking down people in the streets, by whose definition are you defining innocent?
Who is innocent and who is
start
guilty?
having consequences. Nothing is going to change.
But how can we have consequences when the people? Yes, that's where the issue is, because you see, these are really strong allegations, and I would really appreciate that the government will come out for the first time and address this, because we saw this in the EndSARS protest where a bunch of thugs were put in a bus. Right, and they were taken to Alausa. We saw it; it was in the videos. That to go and cause mayhem. So these are big allegations, and we cannot continue to have this, because you see, at the point where we are, if we continue like this, even you that you are thinking they are your people, when they turn against you, it will be devastating for everybody.
Because that's exactly what happened.
Well, let me take Ayo. I think he's back again. Are you there? Yeah. Go ahead, please. You're live.
I said the other time I was trying to say that the only way cultism can be eradicated in Nigeria is by killing.
By what?
Once they are arrested, they should kill them.
Oh, killing.
Okay. I'm speaking from experience.
Okay.
Cultism is all about oppression to oppress. Those people you see that are joining cultism, they have the spirit of inferiority complex.
Thank you, Ayo. So he's suggesting that just if you find a cultist, just kill the person.
Jungle justice. We can't.
Would that work?
Remember Alufo?
But that's the method the Korodu vigilante group.
So no, but they don't kill them. So they hand them over to the police. And I remember we were talking about that if you hand them over to the police,
they get
and their leadership is part of the police, they're back up the next day.
See, what we need to fix is not about the fruit. We're addressing the fruit. We're not addressing the roots. Cultism came out as a result of a bad system, a bad government. And pretty much my belief, I can hold an opinion,
Sure you can.
It's a function of bad governance. If the system is functional, people really do not, whether we like it or not, it's easier for us to sit here and judge other people We all have good and bad in us until you're pressured, until you are subjected to situations that, just the way a man would justify joining cultism because he needed to defend himself. People really find themselves in difficult situations that makes them do things that they're not even proud of.
Yeah.
And that is because the system largely has failed us. If we can have a functioning system, over time, the effect, and there'll be less need for people to perpetrate cultism.
Let me take Austin from me, and I'll come to you, lady. Are you there? Austin, thank you for calling.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, thank you for calling.
Yeah, I'm okay. And what about you?
We're good. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah, it is fine.
Great.
Okay, so cultism is not, it has come to stay in this country. And the unfortunate thing is that we now have the violent ones now. The violent ones are now more than the ones that are not violent that we used to have in universities in those days. And you know, a lot of them are in high places. They are holding big positions in the society. And politicians use them to do elections. So when it is time for elections, these are the guys that they put into the street to go and do all sorts of things.
Thank you so much.
And they are very rich. A lot of them are very, very rich.
See the mansion
So you can't it's going to be very, very difficult.
Thank you so much, Austin. You know, so as we round up the comment, let me come to you, Laide, quickly.
Just very quickly. When, I mean, everybody with their opinion, this is mine, about blaming the governments because the system doesn't work. Generally, we would say the system works in the UK. We have gangs. We have people being killed on the streets of Stratford. As cosmopolitan as the place is, they come from the outskirts of where they live in to commit crimes in London City, where tourists just parade themselves. And that is a system that we think mostly works. It's not about government, it's the people. Let me leave it there.
So where do we move from here?
Prayer.
Prayer doesn't work.
For me, it's multifaceted. We're never going to stop it. Not until a lot of the issues that haven't been fixed in the last, how old are we again? 1960? 50?
62.
60.
I mean,
My
we
math
are
is not that
61,
great.
we are 62.
Something like that. They haven't been fixed yet. Haven't been
61.
fixed. But I mean, there's certain things, like I said, that I think that we can do. Now that we see it coming down to the younger children, where we're seeing these sort of tragic stories about Sylvester, there's a lot more deliberate action that we need to take in terms of dealing with children at the point where they're going through these times of identity, puberty.
No, but what emboldens them? You know, see, what Milola said is very, very, very strong. She was wearing a leg chain, they approached her, and nobody came to ask her.
By that point, they're lost.
Do you understand? No, I mean, you don't even get what I'm saying. What emboldens you to kill me if I say I'm not interested? You know, before, it is, are you joining? You say no, you're not joining.
It's not voluntary.
Yes.
Force people to join.
I know they force people to join the club, but now it has gotten to the point where, I mean, they force you. I mean, people. A lot of people have stories of how they escaped. They still, even if when they forced them, they said no, and they still continued and moved on with their life. But now it has gotten to that point where you say, you know, they do, I will kill you on top of. Like, that's my point. Why do they need to kill me? If I say I'm not doing it,
we've moved on now.
Well, you're taking even.
I mean, so it's alarming. That's what I'm saying. Who is giving them the liver to do that?
That's what we're saying. You've embodied it. It's not about being a cult anymore. It's crime. Don't think about it.
So we should call it as a crime. Yes. Awesome. I understand you now. I understand you now.
Was always very.
What do we call it?
It's been a very difficult topic.
Yeah.
I think that when you have things like this, particularly that affect young people, we are, average age in Nigeria is like 18, 19. It's the scope of the problem is huge. So I can understand your emotional state, but we have to start to pick it apart. That's the only way. It's too big a monster to try and say we're going to take it down. We're just going to take it down. You know, the things that are feeding it will continue to feed it. So you just exactly. It's like a tree. You prune off some branches that you can to make it a little smaller, but it will continue to grow.
Absolutely. Let's read some comments.
Al-Qaeda and all them places. You get rid of this, they move to another.
Absolutely.
All right. let me take this quick one. So this is from Jimmy. This says, it's nepotism of the elite that fueled cultism, desperation of the poor. You have to belong to survive. Very succinct and very true.
Very true, right? So we don't know what to do, but we're going to keep talking about it. But you see, where
that's doing something.
Yes, that's doing something, right? Because where it's alarming for me, there used to be a time where I say I'm not interested, and you let me be, right?
It doesn't really happen like that. Even
yes, no, yes, I know they were.
Before you can get yourself out of an initiation, some people get to leave school completely.
But let me tell you, Milola, what I was told when I was going into school: have a triangle. Don't have a square for a lifestyle. You know what the triangle was? I was in church, I was in school, I was back in my hostel. I didn't attend social gatherings, I didn't attend parties, I didn't do none of those things. Because you know why? They said cultists only come after those people that yeah, so they need to be able to know that it's like you are. So yeah, but when they know that your life is a triangle, they don't disturb you. So there was an escape. No, that's my point. For us then, it was an escape. So you just live a straight life. Don't be caught in parties that you're not supposed to be caught in.
So you never went to parties?
No, I did not. I was school, church, and home in my hostel. That was it. And I was living well. That's what I'm saying. Where is the escape route for the young ones now? That I say I'm not doing, you now come and kill me. That's my point. So we have to find a solution. You know, and maybe what that guy was saying about
killing them.
No, well, I don't subscribe to killing, but at least maybe arresting people and charging them, jailing them for years. Huh?
That's how SARS got to where we are now. So
let's not talk about that. All right. On that note, thank you, ladies.
Oh my.
Thank you, Milola. Thank you, Lady. Thank you, Uti. I'm trying to calm myself down. Now, before we go, thank you everyone that watched and called. Before we go do a show, you follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, we have started a giveaway rather to say thank you to you for believing in the brand. We now give away. Oh, there's so many giveaways.
You know, we
take it back.
Reclaim it.
All right. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. People under the influence of cults is similar to that we observe in addicts. Typical behavior for both includes draining bank account, neglecting children, destroying relations with family, and losing interest in anything except drug or cult. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy your evening.